The story begins with Kalaro trapped in a nightmare, demons rising from the shadows, tearing the world apart, fire consuming everything, blood flooding the ground. He jolts awake, shaken, breathless. In his room appears Anna, the woman who has raised him since he was a baby. Kalaro tells her about the dream, about being a hero, fighting endless demons. Anna listens quietly, and we learn the truth of this world. Heroes exist, chosen by a sacred mark. Soon, Kalaro will come of age and must choose his class. But Kalaro doesn't care. All I want is to repay you, Anna. Later, Kalaro works in the fields, harvesting crops. But suddenly, a voice whispers, "Seek the sight of spirits." His body moves on its own. Step by step, he walks to a great lake. From the water rises a fairy, the spirit of the stars. She asks what he desires. Kalaro answers, "The sight of spirits." She grants it. His eyes open to hidden truths. He can now see the very essence of all living beings. But visions strike him, horrifying visions. A future where he becomes a healer-class hero, forced to serve others, fighting under them against the Demon King. And then, betrayal. The Demon King crushes them all. Kalaro is left alone. We see his torment. The kingdom drugged him, forced him to heal. Every wound he closed, every bone he mended, he felt the agony himself. Years of torture, until he discovered the secret. His power not only heals, it steals. Every time he heals, he gains the skills and strength of the one he touches. With that, Kalaro turns the tide. He blocks the Demon King's attacks, heals himself instantly, and finally, he kills the Demon King. From its corpse, he takes the Philosopher's Stone. But then, Princess Flare appears. She demands the stone. Kalaro laughs bitterly. "I know the kingdom's plan. You want to dominate the world?" He uses the stone. Time rewinds. Flare warns him, "You'll forget everything." But Kalaro's voice is ice. "My mind may forget. My soul never will. I'll make you pay the vision ends." We return to Kalaro at the lake. He is the same Kalaro who rewound time, now planning his revenge. He poisons himself with hallucinogenic plants, building resistance against drugs. Days later, the hero's mark burns onto his body. The very next day, Flare arrives at his village, searching for the new hero. She sees him and recruits him. Together they travel for hours until they reach the kingdom's capital, built on the ruins of beastmen villages. Its people enslaved. Kalaro is brought to the throne room. The king studies him, senses hidden power when he sees Kalaro's strange drawing of plants. He commands him, "Heal my swordsman. She lost her arm in battle." Kalaro accepts. Later, in his chamber, a maid enters. She undresses, trying to seduce him. But Kalaro twists it into a weapon, using his ability to steal her experience. He realizes every maid, every servant can become a tool. Every touch, more strength stolen. After several days, Kalaro is finally taken to meet the swordsman. She is revealed to be a girl named Sira. Kalaro restores her arm, then collapses on purpose. Flare sneers, "Pathetic. Same rank as me, yet you fall this easily." She whispers to her assistant, "Use any method necessary to make him useful." Kalaro hears it, smiles silently. The mask is slipping. Her true face is showing. Days later, Kalaro refuses to heal anyone. He pretends weakness, recreating the pain of his first life. Flare tries sweet words, soft persuasion, but when he still refuses, she sighs. "Fine, I won't force you anymore." For the first time, she believes she has control, but Kalaro knows the truth. After Sira leaves the room, hours later, Flare sends a maid to Kalaro's chamber carrying a cup of tea, and he quickly realizes it has been laced with a sleeping drug, yet he drinks it anyway, collapsing to the ground within seconds. And when he finally awakens hours later, he finds himself chained inside a dungeon, being tortured by a general named Leo, who is furious because Kalaro has been useless to Flare. And soon, Flare's assistant steps in, forcing him to consume drugs to make him addicted so he can be exploited as nothing more than a healer. And from then on, Kalaro is visited daily by warriors who abuse him, beating him down while he is forced to keep swallowing the drugs, until after several days he finally falls into true addiction, begging Flare in humiliation as she mocks him in countless ways. And the next day, Kalaro starts working for the kingdom, healing soldiers and nobles, but as he heals them, he secretly absorbs their skills and techniques, growing stronger in silence. And over 6 long months of slavery, he gains immense power, until one day, his mind clears and he regains full awareness. And now he is ready to begin his revenge, waiting patiently for the perfect chance. And when the king and his royal guards travel to another land, Kalaro uses an alchemy technique to break his chains and escape his cell. And hours later, the guards realize he is gone and begin searching the entire castle. But eventually, Leo manages to capture him and drags him before Flare, declaring that Kalaro has committed an unforgivable crime and must be dealt with privately. So Flare orders Leo to bring him to her chamber along with her guards. But once inside, Leo suddenly draws a blade and slaughters the guards before incapacitating Flare with ease. And in that terrifying moment, the truth is revealed. The man is not Leo at all, but Kalaro himself, who used magic to disguise his face. And Flare, horrified, tries to justify her cruel cruelty, claiming she only wanted him not to feel pain while healing. But Kalaro coldly reminds her that such excuses cannot erase 6 months of torment, and with chilling calm he tells her that he remembers every detail, every moment, even if his mind had seemed broken. And then he proposes a game, a sadistic trial. He will break her fingers one by one, and if she can endure without screaming until the last, he will spare her. And Flare, trembling, accepts. But as the torture begins, Kalaro uses his power to heal her fingers over and over so the torment can restart endlessly, shocking her until she finally breaks down, screaming in agony after one more snap, and thus she loses the game. And Kalaro immediately uses his power to cripple her legs so she cannot stand, forcing her to crawl helplessly across the floor in shame as she desperately tries to escape, declaring that she will never allow herself to be touched by a lowborn like him. But Kalaro seizes a steel bar, heating it until it glows, and he presents her with a choice: either accept him or be burned alive. And terrified of death, Flare chooses him, so Kalaro forces himself upon her in twisted vengeance. And when it is done, he tells her he will erase her memory and change her face so she can no longer be who she was. And Flare begins begging for forgiveness, weeping and pleading, but Kalaro ignores her cries, continuing with his revenge until finally, when it is finished, he laughs with pure joy, savoring the justice he has carved with his own hands, and afterwards he drags Flare with him, using the chaos spreading through the castle as cover. But before leaving, he alters a corpse to make it look like Flare's body so that everyone will believe she is dead, even planting the blame for her death on a knight. And as he escaped from the capital, he shed his old skin and prepared for the next stage of his revenge. But when Flare awoke, she found all her memories gone, and Kalaro used his magic to reinforce the spell, turning her into a companion for his journey. And so he left the royal city and arrived in a remote town, a place that called itself a free city but was filled with corruption and crime. And after a day of wandering, he entered a tavern where Flare praised the delicious food, but when Kalaro raised a cup of water to drink, he sensed something wrong: poison. The town's water supply polluted by monster corpses, causing a plague known as the U virus to spread among the residents. And Kalaro immediately saw an opportunity, for as a healing hero, he quickly devised a formula for a cure, and taking it to a merchant, he proposed a partnership. But the merchant, cautious, doubted how an outsider could hold an antidote. So Kalaro, smiling, gave him 2 samples to test, and the merchant ordered his servant to drink one first. And within seconds, the servant's long-standing illness disappeared, astonishing everyone. So the merchant hurriedly drank the other himself and felt a rush of relief and clarity he had never known. And Kalaro then presented 28 more vials, selling them at 1 gold coin each. And when the greedy merchant tried to monopolize the trade, Kalaro set his terms. Prices would be decided by the merchant, but profits would be split evenly. And if he tried any tricks, Kalaro would sell the cure to others. And with gold flowing in, like all in this world, Kalaro decided to purchase a slave, heading into the slave market to find a companion. But after looking for a long time, he found none suitable. So the nervous shopkeeper took him to see the so-called treasure of the shop, leading him down a tunnel into a dark dungeon where diseased slaves were kept. And Kalaro's eyes fell upon a poisoned girl from the Ice Wolf clan, whose sapphire eyes burned with hatred deeper than the abyss. And though the shopkeeper warned that her potential had already peaked, Kalaro bought her, brought her back, and personally fed her the cure. And when she awoke and realized her first kiss had been stolen, she slapped him hard, but soon introduced herself as Setsuna, a warrior of the Ice Wolf clan, once living happily with her people until humans invaded. And in a desperate attempt to protect her tribe, she fought recklessly, was captured, and her parents were taken as well. And since then, she had been sold into slavery. And upon hearing her tragic past, Kalaro gave her a choice: seize the future with her own hands or give up on the chance for power. And with burning hatred, she chose the future, her strength breaking through as the seed of vengeance sprouted within her. And not long after, they heard cries from nearby, humans abusing another Ice Wolf girl. And though Setsuna longed to rush forward, Kalaro stopped her, warning it was a trap. And moments later, the gates of the Ice Wolf village burst open as warriors charged into battle, arrows filling the sky, blood soaking the earth. Yet the Ice Wolf clan fought desperately for their freedom. And Kalaro, seizing the moment, donned a mask and declared himself the sword hero, standing against the humans and their atrocities, unleashing his blade in a flash that drenched itself in blood, then turning to the Ice Wolves to say he was here in answer to Setsuna's call, pointing his sword at the humans and swearing judgment. But the humans did not falter, and from a distant hill, Flare, now his companion, cast her magic, summoning a massive meteor 100 meters wide that obliterated the battlefield, turning soldiers into ash, a twisted revenge upon her former allies. And then Setsuna Setsuna herself entered the fray, consumed by fury, striking with no mercy as the Ice Wolf warriors rallied behind her, finally releasing the vengeance in her heart. And word of the human army's defeat soon reached the ears of the kingdom's Sword Saint. And on a sunny afternoon, as Kelaro basked in victory with his companions, Setsuna teasingly praised his ferocity, but suddenly blades flashed. The Sword Saint himself had come to capture him, his unmatched swordsmanship cutting Kalaro's cheek in a single strike, and Kalaro, ever bold, smirked and even flirted with her in the middle of battle, asking her to dine with him, shocking her with his shamelessness before she swung again, declaring him a criminal who had slain kingdom soldiers. But Setsuna rushed to explain that Kalaro had protected the Ice Wolf clan from the army's slaughter, and though the Sword Saint's sharp eyes doubted, Flare launched a fireball in anger, only to be knocked down instantly, and Kalaro, enraged, empowered himself, boosting his speed and strength until he could keep up with her, blades clashing, sparks flying, until in one moment of distraction the Sword Saint hurled him 100 meters away, but Kalaro healed instantly, more determined than ever to make her his, and deciding trickery was needed, he hurled a strange potion that dazed her, leaving her flushed and staggering, humiliated to be struck down by such underhanded means, and while she struggled, Kalaro stepped forward, not to kill, but to heal her wounds, leaving her confused and demanding answers, and he told her the truth, that the world she believed in was a lie, the kingdom enslaved and slaughtered beastmen, and she could see for herself if she dared, and then he revealed his true face, and the Sword Saint was shaken, realizing the very man once hailed as a healer was now branded the princess's murderer, overwhelmed by the weight of revelations, when suddenly a shadow interrupted their confrontation, changing everything yet again. Witnesses confirm the princess of the kingdom has appeared, though of course this princess is the one Kalaro altered with his magic, and she tells Kreihe that she herself nearly fell into the kingdom's darkness, but at her most lost moment, the hero of the staff gave her a blazing rod of fire, helping her see the way again. So she begs Kreihe to lend them his strength too, to save the kingdom from the shadows that cover it. And with this half-truth and half-lie, Kalaro ensnares Kreihe completely, and when the time is right, Kalaro breaks out his intoxicating drink, and the two spend an unforgettable night together, while elsewhere, an army begins marching toward Kalaro's hometown, led by a man ruthless enough to mutilate himself with a red-hot iron rod, performing surgery on his own face without anesthesia just to resemble the hero of the staff, and meanwhile the true staff hero enjoys the company of his three lovers, though with Kreihe alone receiving his affection, the other two grow jealous, breaking the promise of equal love, and just then soldiers press villagers outside shouting threats, but Kalaro stands with hands on blades, fearless of any opponent, until he sees the villagers are from his own home, and in that moment he sends Kreihe to the capital to gather intelligence, Kreihe kissing him goodbye before leaving, and elsewhere Leonard seethes with rage, for once Kalaro used him as a scapegoat, even changing his appearance into that of the staff hero, and now, looking at his twisted reflection, Leonard steels himself with mad determination, ripping off his bandages like a deranged monster, a girl trembling behind him as he plans his revenge, while Kreihe learns in the capital that the kingdom has branded Kalaro as a cultist, using that as a pretext to invade his homeland. And when Kalaro hears this, he decides to strike first, disguising himself as a deserter and slipping into the streets to watch the soldiers transporting villagers, intercepting one who falls behind and using his false identity to draw out information. Discovering that the soldier once knew the deserter, he now impersonates and holds knowledge of the staff hero's movements, hoping Kalaro will put in a good word for him. And when Kalaro asks about the ravaged village, the soldier eagerly boasts that only days ago they slaughtered the cultists there, the captain even violating the staff hero's sister in front of everyone. And once the soldier leaves, Kalaro's thoughts burn with memories of Anna, his last pure conscience, and enraged, he vows to make the kingdom pay. And that night, still disguised, he lures Leonard into a room filled with intoxicating incense, and Leonard, desperate to find the staff hero, does not realize he is already before him, until Kalaro drops his disguise and reveals his true self, shocking Leonard, who draws his sword but collapses, once again caught in Kalaro's trap, and Kalaro uses his healing ability to read his memories, seeing scenes of his home destroyed, villagers butchered, and Anna silenced forever. And once he confirms the truth of her fate, he cruelly transforms Leonard into a woman. But even then, Leonard mocks him until Kalaro summons thugs who frighten him into silence, and after dealing with Leonard, Kalaro finds Anna barely alive. But when she sees him, she bites her tongue and ends her own life, unable to believe whether the man before her is truly the child she raised. And though Kalaro casts healing magic again and again, no matter how many times, Anna never returns, leaving him broken.